Picture this. It's October 1940. Adolf Hitler is, for all intents and purposes, the master of Europe. He'd crushed France, and his armies looked unstoppable. But on a parked train car in the quiet French border town of Hendaye, the Fuhrer was about to meet his match. It wasn't a general or some vast army. It was a single man who would lock him in a 7-hour battle of wills, leaving Hitler in an absolute rage, and believe it or not, changing the course of the Second World War. By the autumn of 1940, Hitler had his sights set on his next great strategic prize, Gibraltar. This tiny British territory at the southern tip of Spain was the cork in the bottle of the Mediterranean. Capturing it would slam the door shut on the Royal Navy, severing Britain from its empire in the east. The plan was codenamed Operation Felix, and it was classic Hitler, bold, audacious, and needing just one crucial piece to fall into place: Spain. Hitler planned to march 2 German army corps across Spain to assault the Rock. He traveled to Hendaye assuming he was just there to welcome a new ally. After all, he'd given Francisco Franco critical military aid during the Spanish Civil War. In Hitler's mind, Franco owed him. Spain's entry into the war wasn't a question, it was a formality. He arrived confident, arrogant, and totally unprepared for the man he was about to deal with. Francisco Franco, however, showed up to that meeting on October 23, 1940, playing a completely different game. Sure, he was ideologically on the same page as the Axis, but more than anything, Franco was a survivor. He was leading a country completely shattered by its own horrific civil war. Spain was starving, its military was a wreck, and its economy depended on imports from Britain and the United States. Joining a global war? Franco knew that would be suicide. Spanish territories like the Canary Islands would be instantly exposed to a British attack he stood no chance of winning. His goal wasn't to build an empire, it was just to keep his country in one piece. So he went to Hendaye with a clever plan: string Hitler along and politely refuse him without ever actually saying the word no, a word that might get his country invaded. The meeting started friendly enough, with Hitler congratulating Franco on his Civil War victory. But the pleasantries evaporated the moment they started talking about the price for Spain's help. Franco's demands were breathtakingly bold. He didn't just want Gibraltar, he demanded huge chunks of French colonial territory, like Morocco and parts of Algeria. On top of that, he presented a shopping list of impossible scale: massive shipments of grain, fuel, and modern military gear just to even think about going to war. As the hours crept by, Hitler's famous temper began to fray. Franco was a master of delay, questioning whether Germany could even win the war and suggesting the British would just keep fighting from Canada with American help. At one point, Hitler got so angry he stood up to storm out of the meeting and had to be talked back into his seat. The 7-hour marathon turned into a tense circular argument. The only thing that came out of it was a vaguely worded piece of paper saying Spain would join the war at some future date of its own choosing, which effectively meant whenever Franco felt like it, if ever. As Franco's train pulled away, Hitler was reportedly fuming. He told his staff there was nothing to be done with this bloke. His rage became the stuff of legend. A few days later, when meeting with Mussolini, Hitler complained bitterly about the Spanish leader. He famously snarled that he would rather have 3 or 4 of his own teeth pulled out than go through another meeting with Franco. The man who had conquered nations with pure military might had been totally outmaneuvered in a stuffy railway car by sheer stubbornness. Franco's masterclass in high-stakes diplomacy is one of the most fascinating subplots of the entire war. If you want to learn about other moments where a single decision changed everything, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. The Hendaye meeting was an absolute disaster for Hitler. Operation Felix was put on hold indefinitely and was eventually scrapped altogether as Germany shifted its focus to invading the Soviet Union. While Spain did send a volunteer Blue Division to help the Germans on the Eastern Front, it officially stayed out of the war. Franco's infuriating tactics, born out of a desperate need to protect his broken nation, had completely derailed the Führer's grand Mediterranean strategy. It was a powerful reminder that wars aren't just won with bombs and bullets. Sometimes they're won with cunning, patience, and the audacity to make your yes completely impossible.